Okay.
Oke, baik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, Bapak Ibu semuanya. Good afternoon, everyone. Oke, sangat senang sekali pada siang hari ini kita bisa bertemu secara daring, ya, Bapak Ibu, dalam acara webinar. Ini merupakan webinar yang ke-15 di Fakultas Teknologi Elektro dan Informatika Cerdas. Pada hari ini kita punya dua pembicara yang luar biasa. Yang pertama adalah Dr. Saadat, Mehmood Hashmi. Beliau dari University of Sharjah, dari United Arab Emirates, ya. Kemudian yang kedua adalah Bapak Faizal, Dr. Faizal Mahananto. Beliau adalah dosen di Departemen Sistem Informasi ITS, yang pada hari ini keduanya akan memberikan insight, ya, research di bidang healthcare informatik. Okay, so today we'll have two great speakers. The first one is Dr. Saadat from University of Sharjah, and the second one is Dr. Faizal Mahananto from ITS. Oke, baik Bapak Ibu. Pertama-tama saya mau mengucapkan terima kasih yang pertama kepada Dr. Saadat yang sudah berkenan hadir pada siang hari ini. Thank you very much, Dr. Saadat, for joining us today. It was a great pleasure for us. Kemudian saya juga mau mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Pak Faizal Mahananto, Bapak Dekan, Bapak Ketut Edi Purnama, Bapak Wakil Dekan, Pak Waskito, kemudian Pak Mujahidin sebagai Kepala Departemen. Tak lupa kami mengucapkan banyak terima kasih kepada Bapak Ibu, adik-adik, semua peserta yang sudah bergabung pada siang hari ini. Kami sangat senang mendaftar webinar pada pagi ini berasal dari banyak kota, ya, Bapak Ibu. Dari Jakarta, Jombang, Padang, Ternate, Jember, ya, banyak sekali Bapak Ibu. Pendaftar sekitar hampir 200 orang. So kami sangat mengucapkan banyak-banyak terima kasih. So we are very pleasure here to have you today. Oke, berikutnya agenda pada hari ini, Bapak Ibu, yang pertama adalah nanti ada sambutan dari Bapak Dekan. Berikutnya adalah speaker yang pertama yang akan disampaikan oleh Dr. Saadat dengan topik Healthcare Informatik A Way Forward. Kemudian yang kedua, kita punya pembicara Pak Faizal Mahananto yang akan menyampaikan topik tentang Rate Variability, Method, and its Implementation. Oke, tidak perlu menunggu lama Bapak Ibu, mari kita buka pada hari ini dengan ucapan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Mudah-mudahan acara pada siang hari ini berjalan lancar. Oke, terima kasih. Selanjutnya, waktu kami berikan ke Pak Dekan, Bapak I. Ketut Edi Purnama. I will give the time to our Dean, Bapak I. Ketut Edi Purnama, to give opening speech. Oke, time yours, Pak Dekan.
Thank you, Pak Muklason. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Selamat siang, salam sejahtera buat kita semua. Honorable Mr. Saadat Mehmood Al-Hashmi, I hope I don't have any mistake to pronounce your name. Associate Professor, College of Computing and Informatics, Department of Information System, ya. University of Sharjah, United Arab Emirates. Good afternoon in Indonesia, and I don't know in UAE. in the morning or in the afternoon?
Yeah, morning, yes.
In the morning, okay. Nice to have you here to give a talk, and also honorable my colleagues Faizal Mahananto from Information System Department. Selamat siang Pak Mahananto.
Selamat siang Pak.
Ya, yang terhormat Bapak Ibu pimpinan Departemen, Pak Mujahidin, saya lihat ada di sini. Kemudian Bapak Ibu dosen dari Departemen Sistem Informasi, saya lihat Bu Mahendra. Kemudian juga saya nggak melihat yang lain nih, karena saya ikut webinar sebagai peserta ya. Kemudian Bapak Ibu dosen di lingkungan Fakultas Teknologi Elektro dan Informatika Cerdas. Pertama-tama kita ucapkan puji syukur kepada depan Tuhan Yang Maha Esa karena kita berhasil, karena kita saat ini masih diberi kesehatan dan mudah-mudahan tetap diberi kesehatan untuk melaksanakan tugas kita sehari-hari sampai masa pandemi ini berakhir dan juga seterusnya. Kemudian Bapak dan Ibu, kita juga bersyukur bahwa momen kali ini adalah momen untuk saling bertukar ilmu ya. I should say thank you to both of the speaker because can share knowledge about health informatics and research related to medical side yeah. And also Pak Saadat, Mr. Saadat, I would say that Indonesia now is also suffer from COVID-19 pandemic period, and but during this pandemic era, our university, our faculty still have a motivation, still have power to help others. Yeah, we already produce several innovative products related to COVID-19. Not just seeing how medical staff help others, but also we create a service robot. We call it Robot Raisa to help medical staff to serve a patient with COVID-19 virus. Yeah. We also produce a robot to sterilize a room in hospital. We also produce the remote ventilator, so we can operate a ventilator from a distance. And we also create such information system how to track, how to monitor COVID-19 patient. Yeah. So including this department, Information System Department, already support us to establish those kind of innovative product. So by this occasion, also I hope that this occasion can also inspire lecturer, inspire also students how to be still creative, how to be still productive, although in the pandemic era, although just by working at home or doing education from a distance. Yeah. I think this occasion can be followed by a cooperation between your university, University of Sharjah, and ITS, not just by having this webinar, but also I hope you, Prof. Saadat, can be a person who can open the collaboration between our university, ITS, and your university. And I hope Mr. Faizal Mahananto or Mr. Muklason or Mr. Isak will continue the cooperation either in education or also in research, in research or in publication or joint publication. That's what we should remind to make a collaboration in the future between your university and my university. Okay, that's my opening speech, and by this occasion, I declare that this webinar can be open formally. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ketut, for the opening speech. Okay, now I will continue to the second program. It will be the keynote speaker. We will have Dr. Saadat will be presenting a talk about healthcare informatics a way forward. Before we start the talk, let me introduce Dr. Saadat a little bit. He is currently associate professor in College of Computing and Informatics, Department of Information System, and the University of Sharjah. His educational background, he graduated from Aligarh Muslim University in India, and then he got his master degree from the University of Sheffield, the University of Sheffield in United Kingdom. And then he also got his Ph.D. from United Kingdom as well, from Sheffield Hallam University. And then he also got a graduate certificate in higher education from Monash University, Australia. And then regarding his research interest, he's currently doing research in business analytics, including the health informatics, and then cloud computing, supply chain management, and information retrieval. Okay, I think it's need to extend a little bit more. Now time I will give to Dr. Saadat to give his talk. Okay, Dr. Saadat, time is yours.
Thank you so much for all your generous comments, and I'm really honored and I'm really excited to see that almost we have 100 participants. So that shows the impact you are making in educating and research. So I'm really excited and thanks for all your kind words. I'll just share my screen and then we will take things from there. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I'll just start. Obviously, you have given all the background. So what I will do, I will start with slightly basic information, and then we will move into more healthcare in general. And as you mentioned, that my background is more on the data side. So I'm more interested on the analytics and things like that. And what Dr. Faisal is going to talk about is more the technical and hardware. That's what I could see that you have contributed hugely in that.
I'm so sorry, Professor Saadat, your mic is muted.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Really. Okay. I'm really sorry. I thought okay. That's fine. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I will just move into the part of this agenda we are going to talk about today. So what I will do, I'll spend a few minutes so that we are on the same playing field. We all understand that, especially I presume, as Dr. Mukhlisin also mentioned, a lot of the students would be joining as well. So it's important we just have a quick overview of what we are going to do. From there, we will talk about healthcare in general, what it is, what are issues, and how we can complement that with some of the interesting work, exciting work you are doing in ITS, the robots and all the things you are doing. It's really exciting. So the idea is that we are heading in a direction where hardware alone or software alone cannot do much, right? And individual universities as well, sometimes resource constraints, sometimes it's constraints related to expertise, sometimes constraints related to focus. So we can't do everything. So as our Honorable Dean suggested that we should continue with this, hopefully it will bring more interest, common interest together, and then we can combine and then do other things. So agenda is going to be, I'll talk about data in general. From there, we'll talk about healthcare informatics. What are certain issues, massive issues are happening. Some of the things already in terms of technology, what kind of things are already happening here, what are big players. I happen to know one or two Indonesian companies as well. Some of my previous students were there doing some good work. So we can bring them on board as well later on. We'll talk about some of the state of the art, what's already happening, and then a roadmap where I see that it's heading, this domain is heading. So with that, we will just start. As I said, just a quick, very short overview. Analytics, as we said, when we talk about, different people have different ways of looking at it. The way I look at it from the data side, it's something which is iterative. I have data. And then within that data, I'm trying to explore what kind of patterns coming up, right? So from that, that's what it is. So it could be pure data, which is structured data. It could be unstructured data. It could be data relevant to social media. Everywhere we have data around. So that's what essentially we are talking about here. And companies, especially these days, if someone says they are not relying on data, that means they are still in dinosaur age. So they really need to think that how they're using. And I'm sure when Dr. Faizal will talk about his work, he will also talk about, I presume, what kind of data we are generating. So on one end, we can only keep refining things by making things more and more perfect in terms of engineering side. But if we use the data as well, that the kind of data we are generating, we can skip a lot of things which are done usually only doing engineering applications, only hardware driven, right? So that's something we are talking about. And increasingly, this is the idea we need to explore really. Now, often this question comes that, okay, why now? Why we were generating data before? Why all of a sudden so much interest? And the idea is very simple. We are generating a lot more data now. It's massive amounts of data. There are different studies. Some talks about that we are doubling every few weeks. I'm talking about slightly longer, slightly less, but it's massive amounts of data around us. It could be IoTs, Internet of Things, that's generating data. It could be we are surfing, our devices are smart, they're generating data. We are watching, carrying smartwatches, all that is generating data. Now, if that data is not used properly, then what will happen? It's just nothing as if someone is just carrying all the load without actually someone carrying all the books in their back, but they're not reading them, right? So this is the kind of thing we are talking about. And this is a serious battle happening around that, how we use that. Now, when we talk about data, obviously it has a lot of things. There are different ways, all the way from 4 Vs to 6 Vs, that the volume of data is increasing massively. The variety of data, it could be social media, it could be text, it could be your structured, unstructured, all that kind of data, variation and visibility. And the idea is that with all that data which is coming, we create a value to the system, right? So this is the reason. And as we said, it's massive, massive data around us, and taking on everything. Even if we look at the COVID battle, as our Honorable Dean mentioned, that you have produced some very interesting products. But if you look at it, some of the leading research groups, Oxford Research Group and other research groups, they are doing it a lot faster. Previously, it could take up to 8 to 10 years to come up with a vaccine, but we are expecting now it may be out in 12 to 18 months. And the reason is they're using data platforms. So they're not doing all the experiments. They're doing a lot of that through simulations and playing around with the data and that kind of thing. So that's something we really need to take on board. Now, that having said that, that doesn't mean the real hands-on, hard-wired things which people like Dr. Faizal and your group is doing. No, they are equally important, if not more. But what is that it's doing? It's complementing those things. That now we are generating data, but we will complement that. So we will take those things and we move on with that kind of thing. Now, just to give you a very sort of overview, this is according to, I'm sure all of you know, World Economic Forum. Every year they meet in Davos, and where all the influential people of the world, they meet in January, usually every year. And according to their recent data, every day we are generating huge amount of data, 5 million tweets every day, 296 billion emails every day, 4 petabytes of data every day Facebook is creating, terabytes of data, which connected cars, even though there are not that many yet. Imagine when we have autonomous cars like Tesla and all that coming up, how would that thing will work? And obviously 65 billion messages every day and 5 billion searches made every day. So we have all that data, and companies are, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Right. I thought there is some problem. There's some music. Okay. So with that, with all that data, it would be almost a criminal act if we don't utilize that, because that is telling us a lot. Already it's telling a lot. So people from the data side, they are looking into ways to identify that, look, how can I really look into what kind of thing is happening here. So just to quickly overview of where all that is leading us to, especially in the healthcare side. So obviously this is more of a roadmap which we have traveled, and how it evolved over the time was, if you look at that in 1960s, 70s, when things started, it was mainly used within healthcare system for administrative, for patients' records and some sales or financial sort of systems. That's what it was, just to make things slightly easier, nothing much, almost, and with a lot of promise that this will happen. Decision support systems, AI systems were proposed, and that was the first, as they say, golden age of AI. A lot of interest was going on, but people realize it hasn't served that purpose. It hasn't done that much because it was not, technology otherwise was not mature. So from there, we moved to 80s period where we started using some clinical and administrative systems. We started storing, doing some calculations, clinical calculations and things like that. Again, in 90s, it continued. And obviously with the internet, boom of internet, lot of applications came and lot of promises came as well in late 90s and things like that. And again, it continued. Finally, in 2000, obviously people start using proper healthcare records. They could see records, what's happening. They start developing systems where they can share some information and things like that, at least basic information. And then things like that, e-prescription, all that it came. But as far as I see, what really started happening is in 2010 onwards. And that too, within it, it's in last 4 to 5 years where a lot of work is happening. And the reason is obvious. Internet has become extremely fast. We can communicate, data can be transferred. We can have very finer images, which would take months, if not years to download in late 90s, early 2000, which can now be downloaded within press of a button. And now with 5G coming in a lot of countries very soon, we could download in fractions of seconds. The whole DVD could be downloaded literally in seconds and things like that. So that opens a huge opportunity. Obviously, there are challenges, but it opens huge opportunities when we talk about where we are heading. So this is what the journey is. Now, I just want to give you, and as I said, most of you may have heard these numbers before, but I'm more at this stage more focused towards the students, just to sort of excite them that this is an area they should seriously think. And especially now in this COVID era, we can see the role technology is playing. It's just massive, and they can really make all the changes sort of thing we could expect. Now, just to give you a sort of a simple graph, just to tell you that how crucial it is for different industries, right? Now, this is a US data. This is the latest data, WHO data, World Health Organization's data, 2017. And it talks about US data, according to them, how from 2000 to 2017, what percentage of GDP US is spending. So as you can see, US is obviously by far the biggest spender of in healthcare. Obviously, people have various reservations that how impactful it is and things like that, but it's huge. And not just in terms of percentage, but in real terms as well, because it's a massive $1 trillion economy. So you can see it evolve, and you will see similar trend across the world. But this percentage, nobody is near US in terms of spending. So in 2000, the GDP was around 12% of that was going into healthcare. All the way now it's reached almost 17%. It was slightly up to 17.5, and now it's around 17%. So this is the US data, and then we'll come back and we'll see this is the UAE data. It started again very small number, and 2.5 all the way it peaked at 2.4, 4.505, and now slightly dipped. Now dip doesn't mean that in terms real money it's going down, because GDP is increasing. So in real term money may not be down, but just tells you that percentage wise we have dipped a bit, or maybe we have invested a huge amount here in terms of infrastructure, and now we are using more and more. So that's the UN data. Then I pulled out data for Indonesia as well, the nation data, and I also found it was similar to UAE data. If you see, it's similar to UAE data, right? So around 3% and less, around that. And again, you can see there was a hike in around 2008, 2009, similar to that. And now we are here. Maybe it has gone up, but this is the latest data, right? 2017. So I hope this will give you a picture. We are talking about an industry which is huge, massive. And purely from job point of view, it's huge, but also for opportunities in terms of research, opportunities for contributing, giving back to society. It's huge. So I thought that's a good overview of that. From there, we will just quickly move to see that on an average, if you look at it, world health data is also moving up and down. In 2008-9, that was the area where it peaked in terms of percentage. But still, world overall is still higher than Indonesia and UAE in terms of spending. Now, for us, what we need to really look at it, okay, shall we spend more, increase more, or shall we spend that more wisely, right? That's what it is. And we have this opportunity that with use of technology, we can do a lot of things which were not possible before. We can do that through simulations and through analytics and through very smart diagnostics and things like that. Like, for example, now almost all countries are using some kind of smart lockdown. When it was started, it was complete lockdown, but then from there they start learning that, look, we are generating data from mobile devices. We can do that. From there, we can also look into some other opportunities where we can trace and track who has positive cases, negative cases, and you can see how many people they met because we're carrying our mobile phone. So these kind of opportunities are there, which we never thought that much before. Right. So this is a quick overview. Now I'll just show the slide and then we'll move. So this is again a type of heat map most of you would have seen, and it tells you that the spending in country-wise, worldwide where we are. If you look at it, North America stands out when it comes to spending in healthcare. Then obviously some European countries, they stand out as well. And then obviously here you have Australasian continent. Then in the middle, there's Afghanistan as well. They're spending huge amount of money. In terms of percentage, in numbers, it may still be very low because they may have a very small budget, but just wanted to give you an idea where we are. Now, every country, they don't have that much resources to jump from 3% to 9%, 10%, or even US, which is 17%. It's just not realistic. So we need to find ways which can help us to get similar, if not better, care of patients by doing very specialized, specific sort of treatments, which should emerge with the kind of data we are generating. So not only we are generating huge data from our mobiles, but a big percentage is also wearing smart watches. There is carrying smart bands and things like that. That's also generating data, so we can use that and get that and see how effective it is. And then obviously with the right tactics, we could apply some very interesting theories called nudge theories to increase the adaptability of certain behavior. Some countries, especially in UK, UAE, and some other countries are starting at policy level, because that's where it is. I and you can do a lot of research in our research labs, but if we don't have funds and if it's not applied wisely, then all that would be just published into paper form, and that's pretty much about it. But rather than that, we want to do work that is also beneficial to the humanity at large, right? That's something we are really looking at it. So giving that kind of opportunity, we want to move into healthcare analytics, and that's something we are doing. I'll briefly talk about some of the things I'm doing towards the end, but just to give you an outline of that. Now, I would consider this as the first sort of a portion of my talk. Now, I really want, while it's not, unfortunately, while we do web seminars, we don't have that interactive session, but I would highly encourage that if anyone wants to raise any question, they can do that now, or hold on to it towards the end where we will have some time for discussion. We can do that, but I really want you to clarify and ask questions, especially I would encourage students to do that besides us researchers. Okay, now, so from all that background we talked about healthcare, we need to move on to analytics part, right? What it is, why, and how it's being used, and what are the projections we are talking about, where it's heading. So what it does, obviously, it allows healthcare professionals, but not just healthcare professionals. It could be an insurance company which is providing healthcare insurance. It could be in hospitals. It could be at policy level. All that it can do that so that they can understand where things are heading. So improve in healthcare management, patient management, engagement, spending, diagnostics. All that comes under healthcare analytics. And what the idea is that we want to find, so we want to combine that with historical data and the real-time data. And that can give us very decent trends where we are heading. And later on, I will talk about some of the examples where how companies have identified this as a niche. Because just imagine if healthcare spending is 17 billion in US, we are talking about hundreds of billions of dollars just in healthcare. And similar, if you look at 3% GDP of Indonesia, and similar to UAE, all that. If you really look into that, you find out that it's massive opportunities there. Even if we can reduce cost by 2-3%, that's a massive change that can be applied in other areas. Now, from where we get data? We get data from mortality reports, death reports, and things like that. What kinds of death happened, at what age, what were the symptoms, things like that. So we have that. We have demographic data, that which areas have what kind of diseases. So that gives us socioeconomic data. Procedural data, what procedures we applied, worked on which kind of diseases, diagnostics data, medical claims data, who's claiming what. So that is all. And then besides that, we also understand trends in data, diseases trends. So for example, now, one of the crucial thing happening now is obviously all over the world, everyone is worried about Corona, right? This is the massive trend going on. But at the same time, we know there are even other diseases which are very important. Tuberculosis is still there, cancer is still there, AIDS is still there. So that kind of thing, and people are dying because of those diseases as well, right? Some places in the world still have polio and things like that. So we really need to understand all those things and see that, look, all our resources have to be used wisely, and how technology is really going to help us to see that. And later on, we will talk about some of the trends here. Now, as we said, besides other things, we also collecting clinical information systems. So as you know, data is usually, healthcare data is broadly divided into two. Healthcare, clinical data and administrative data. Clinical data is more about the background, the clinical related information, and administrative is more about personal information, financial information, and things like that. Besides that, research studies, obviously millions of papers are being published all over the world. How would I know which is more important, and things like that? IBM has is spending huge on making some of those. We have genetic database, right? That's also a huge area for data analytics, that we can now we can have our own DNA sequencing. And then through that, we can identify that what are certain genes which are, for example, more likelihood of certain diseases. which genes are less likely to, so we can do all that without actually those kind of things happening. Then obviously we have public records. Web searches is extremely crucial way of doing the, because now whatever happens around us, the first thing we do, we search. And that leaves behind a very interesting trend, digital trend, through digital steps behind it, right? So all that information, if can used, it can tell us in which direction things are heading. And that's what it is. So we are in an era where we don't need to wait for a disease to become prevalent. We should be reasonably predictive that what is likelihood of something going to happen before, so that we can really start preparing. If something happened and then we start preparation, then that's already late. Similar to what happened with Corona, that it came so fast, we were not prepared. But it was very interesting. I was reading work in Oxford Research Lab, and they said that they started working. Obviously, they had no information about this particular disease, but they always do, through simulations and activities, they always do work where they predict, if something like this happened, are we prepared for that or not? So that is something very interesting. Now, a lot of studies are done, and I'm sure you have heard about this, and some may be involved in that as well. But social media. So the type of words we use on search, that gives a very interesting indication what's about to happen. If a lot of people are looking for example, something related to, I don't know, a particular, that they are going to washroom too many times. If we get that kind of searches from a particular region, particular city, or particular area within city, then healthcare people can see that, look, on an average every day we were getting 5 searches for this, but today, for the last say 4 or 5 months, but all of a sudden today there are 100 searches from that area. That means there is something wrong, because there's a direct link that what we search is obviously is what we are thinking. So that is also something we are working, and I'm working on one very interesting project based on that, looking at the Corona time, and we have collected huge tweets of that, and we are trying to identify that what is the relationship of what's happening. Now, some similar work has happened before. We are not the first one to look into this, but what we are contributing here is we are looking that is there a direct link of what's actually happened there. So we have data now, we have the data to compare that how it is spread, and is there a relationship between how it is spread and what people are tweeting. Is there a relationship, and how real time it is, and how early it is giving us that. Another very interesting area is happening, digital phenotyping. Now this is again a very, very interesting area, and some of you may have heard about it, is that how, because we all carry mobile phones, we all use mobile phones, and the way we use it, behind we use our patterns, that how we use it. So diseases like Alzheimer's and things like that, where our responses tend to get slow, my mobile phone, it's a very good mirror to tell that, because what will happen, my responses may slow down. So if my responses are slowing down according to my age, that means I have no issues. I may be aging, and I may have all those responses slow. But if that is happening because faster than a normal slowdown, that means there is something wrong. And we can arrest that a lot earlier. It can give an indication of what's happening and things like that. And obviously, slowly, Apple and Samsung and all, they are coming with their inbuilt devices. The latest Apple Watch has oxygen level and things like that, which was not there before. So it can be used and learned a lot better and give us some other views as well once we have that kind of data. So this is what it is. Obviously, Internet of Things is playing a huge role, especially the kind of devices people like Dr. Faizal and all are there, okay, heart related. So implants and things like that plays a huge role here. Okay, so that's that. Now, overall, we already mentioned that it is an issue. Costs are rising, even though GDP, and still we have issues. And on top of that, the biggest challenge is population is aging. Countries like Japan, China are way ahead. European countries are way ahead. Their average age is getting higher and higher. So there's a limit how much more governments can spend on healthcare. So we need to find ways. We need to find ways to make healthcare cheaper. And that cheaper can only come by use of technology, by being more innovative, by being more looking into the actual use, empathy, and things like that. So that is something we really need to do. Besides that, healthcare, because it's a matter of life and death, and in a way, a lot of time it's a matter of privacy and security as well. And we tend not to sort of share data, and that what it leads to that a lot of time hospitals next to each other, they don't share data. So if I went to one hospital and if I decided to go to another hospital, either they do all that test again, which I have done in that hospital, first hospital, or I need to take a hard copy or soft copy of that and then show that, because they're not linked. Often, especially when private hospitals are there, they have their own interest to protect, and sometimes those interests are valid interests. So we need to really look into that. Government policies and things like that should come into picture and see how that can be done without actually obviously compromising on the quality of what's happening. Just to give you data, and hopefully that'll give you an idea as well. It may not be very different in other countries, maybe slightly numbers can change. But again, this is the data from US, that in US per person is spending in 1975 was $550. It was 8% of GDP. Now it's around $11,000 per person, right? And that has increased from 8% to 18% of the GDP. Now we cannot afford this keep growing. I mean, we cannot, if it happened in 40 years, this number, and another 40 years, if it keeps increasing, we are talking about maybe 40%. So if 40% of budget or even 30% of budget keep going into healthcare, that means we will be left with very little money to do other things. What will happen to education? What will happen to infrastructure? What will happen to food and things like that? So it's that thing. But on top of that, what is happening is that in US, new patients would get almost 90%, 60 minutes with doctor, and 30 minutes with doctor if they are coming to see doctor again. That has reduced to 12 minutes and 7 minutes. So that's also showing you that doctors are spending more time on paperwork, more time on things which are not directly helping. So again, that means we need to think about automation and things like that, so that doctors can focus on what they are good at, diagnosing, what they are good at helping patients, consulting and things like that, and then moving into other parts. So just to give you an idea that in 2016, 27% of doctors' time clinical phase was on patients, and 49%, that means 50% was on paperwork. Half of your time as a doctor is spent on paperwork. Again, that's a serious loss of wastage of resources. So we need to really think about all those issues and see that how we can really make sure that these doctors are spending more time. I mean, just 27% time doctors are spending with patients. Other things are spending in other things, which is just too expensive, too costly. So we have that information, we have faster systems, and based on that, we really need to think where we're heading. So the idea is that if we understand what doctors are doing, what are their routine activities, what are their special activities, based on that with latest AI algorithms, with latest machines like you have developed, we can combine that, understand right from disinfection, all the way, all that can be combined, and then routine things can be done so that doctors get more time. We can increase that from 27% maybe up to 70-80%. That'll be a serious push. But if that happens, imagine we can do huge amount of work with existing resources, existing doctors. Now, some of the things are already happening. As you can see, behavioral and mental health, a lot of softwares are there. I'm sure you have heard about it, or you may have seen about it already, that it's happening. Data can aid clinicians rather than doctor looking at every patient's data and things like that. Now I can have a data, history of data, everyday data, every minute's data, and system is advising, and then finally doctors taking a decision based on their experience, what may work, what may not work. Already MRI, X-ray results, they are there again, huge data. And you may have heard a company called DeepMind, which Google acquired in 2014. It's a UK-based company. They worked on NHS data, National Health data of UK government. And they created a very powerful software which can detect, which can do some radiology images much better than a good doctor. Now, that doesn't mean we don't need doctors. Yes, we need doctors, and we need them even more. But even one of the best doctor in the world may not have seen in his own or her own life 30 or 40,000 images. I'm just stretching. But a software may have seen millions of images. So it can help understand and then give the final decision to doctors, where they can see with their experience that, look, this image makes sense, what AI system has advised makes sense, and things like that. They can move, and they showed that. Likewise, for neurological conditions, they looked at strokes and brain hemograms, and they found out that system could be 150 times faster than human radiologists. Again, they have shown, and their results were better. I know a lot of people, especially doctors, they tend to think, well, there are issues and things like that. Yes, we are not saying that we are here, especially data people or people from the bioinformatics background people. We are not here to replace doctors. We are here to help them to perform their duties even better. And with that, what will happen? We will have an opportunity to give them an opportunity to do things a lot better, and focus more on serious cases which really require sort of things. Besides, it's used in biomarkers for prevention, assessment, and heart failure. Again, you can look at markers, health, the signals coming out from heartbeats and things like that. Likewise, in dementia, Parkinson's diseases, all that can be, in certain cases, they have shown that normal data is showing that we are normal, there's nothing wrong, normal tests are showing nothing wrong. But when they looked at the markers, they found out even sometimes, even 5 years before, that this person might have this disease because trend is heading in that direction. Now, a normal doctor would never have that kind of luxury time to spend with one patient looking at that data. But now with technology, we can do that. Equally, drug discovery, again, a huge industry. We are talking about pharmaceutical industries again, and it's set to grow, especially now. So this is already happening. serious issues in mental health, behavioral issues, again, serious issues. Children's, again, there is a spike in depression rates, especially during Corona. Children are staying at home, spending more time on in front of digital devices. While it's sad, but at the same time, they're leaving behind a lot of information which can be used to channel and raise alarms and things like that, right? So depression is rising very fast. Teenage and millennials, it's increased from 63% just in last few years. Now, some of these diseases you may not find in that prevalent in developing countries. Sometimes it's just the nature. Sometimes is there are studies talking about religious aspects as well. But still, these things are catching up all over the world, right? Again, ADHD is again a serious issue, and it's increasing. It increased 31%. So these are serious numbers. 700 million people have these issues worldwide. So we are talking about almost 10% of the world population, slightly less than 10% of the world population. It's a serious issue. Now, because everyone is spending time, as we said, we are having a golden age in terms of analyzing that. And with faster computers, faster processing, we can really move to next level and then see, rather than something which actually happened, we can actually look at what might happen. And that's what the major difference we are talking about with predictive. Now, if that is even 90%, 92% right, that's perfectly fine. We are not saying it will change 100%, but it will massively, it will change the way things are happening. So obviously emotions, cognition, behavior, sociality, and behavioral patterns, all that gives us signs and indications of what might happen. I repeat, what might happen, and that will prepare us to take decisions. Again, I will not go into detail. Dr. Mukhlisin, I think I'm almost done, just another 2 minutes, and then I'll fly. Already identifying cardiovascular abnormalities, again, detecting from the data, images, detect fractures and other injuries, again, through data, aiding diagnosis, neural diseases, we mentioned, screening for common cancers, again, huge, already a lot of work is happening. And just to give you an idea that in US alone, they did studies and they found out just back pain industry is $88 billion. So imagine if through injuries which actually happen, we can predict that earlier with some certain symptoms, we are talking about serious issue. And out of that, 85% have non-specific pains. So they don't know, but if we can somehow encourage that, look, you are heading in that direction, what will it will do? It may encourage them to do, I don't know, some exercises or seek early sort of preventive activity or action before that actually happens. So just to sort of summarize this, the idea is so much advances have been made in last 4 or 5 years. Time is now, and we really need to think that can we continue with that kind of spending forever, or we need to really take a step back and see that, look, this is the time to see what's happening and how I can do that. We need to understand how doctors are using, how patients feel, empathy. And it's really not about doctors and data, it's about helping doctors. But more than that, helping healthcare providers, both at government at level, that how it can help so that they can come up with right policies, right encouragement to use that. So it's all about doctors with data and the patterns that come with it. And now, because we can really think about individuals' issues, we don't need to worry about one size fits for all, that everyone has to take same medicine, everyone has to take same sort of sets and things like that. We really can tailor that monitor that again with some of the machines. So with that, I've just like to thank you here, and I'm just open for questions. I think I've said a lot of things, very broad things, and if you have any specific questions, then I would be extremely happy to answer that. Thank you so much, and over to Dr. Mukhlisa.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Saadat, for the great talk. Okay, now I will open for question and answer. Okay, anybody want to ask any question? You can raise your hand and ask to Dr. Saadat directly. Okay, there is question from Amir. Okay, Amir.
Okay, thanks for the time. So I have a question. It actually referred to Dr. Saadat.
Yeah.
As we know that with the data, we can imagine many sophisticated stuff such as robot, AI, and sort of cool stuff. As we know, almost every instance, every state, every country have their own regulation, rules, law regarding to data security and privacy, especially about the healthcare.
Yeah.
But as we know that the health data is so critical and it's vital to expose. I myself will not expose my historical health data for no clear reason.
Right.
For instance, in my country, Indonesia, it's very complicated if we have a business with regulation, law, or bureaucracy. And what do you think of healthcare data development and its usage? Will it grow rapidly, or it will be even stuck in the future? But I'm still sure it will grow better, but in the way future. And
Right.
the second is, what kind of usage of the data that's proper with the current conditions I just mentioned before? Thanks.
Right. Okay, thank you so much, Amir, for the question. If I got it right, you're asking, please correct me. So you're asking two questions. One is that, okay, we have regulations and where it's heading. Yes, this is a serious challenge all over the world. And that's why we need to, first of all, work on at country level, obviously, because everyone has a stake. I mean, government have a stake here, massive stake, because nobody can afford increase in healthcare spending too much, maybe few percentage points, but even for that, it's massive. So first of all, we have to have regulations at government level, but at the same time, WHO and things, organizations like that, they also have a very massive role, and they're working on that data. Coming just to explain this point further, we still have, if we do it right, it's very easy to mask data. They can very easily separate my personal information with my diseases information, my healthcare related information. It's called masking. So you can really separate that out, and it is definitely possible. And that's exactly what happened in UK. This DeepMind company, it came and they encouraged NHS, National Health Record, which is one of the world's largest one entity of healthcare. They encouraged them. A private entity went there, very good data mining people. They went there, they convinced government that, look, give us the data. We'll work on that data. And then we will advise you that where spending should go, how can you reduce that, and things like that. So it can happen. We have things working, but at the same time, some information, if we encourage people and use right technology, then definitely it is possible. And I see a very bright future in that. I mean, especially if we have a proper public private partnership. Obviously, we are using, I mean, without we agreeing, we are giving all our information while we are online. Google has so much information about it. Apple has so much information about it. Even though Apple and Google have a different policy, Apple says they store information on our own devices, but still, it can be taken anytime, right? Google has so much information about it. So it is there, and it's time that we learn that how it's going to happen. And one of the things where a lot of countries are pushing, especially European countries, where they're saying that health providers, they should give access for my personal information, that exactly what they have stored. So when I know exactly what is stored, I will be more confident rather than me knowing that I don't know what is stored. So this will build trust, and with that, obviously, we will have more information about it, and then hopefully, the more data we have, the more activities we can do. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, thanks, Doctor.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
satisfied.
Thank you. Any other question?
Okay, Amir, thank you very much for the question. Now is the question from Muhammad Faros Hanif.
Okay.
Okay, you can
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes. After.
My questions is refers to Mr. Saadat.
Yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So.
Waalaikumsalam.
We know that the social media have a freedom for their users.
Yeah.
Now, my question is, sir, how to optimize the usage of social media and make a new innovation in order to give a lot of information about some kind of healthy, because I'm a college student from high boarding school university in Darul Ulum. And then moreover in this pandemic conditions, because we know that this pandemic is so serious and a lot of people dying.
Right.
But we know like a lot of people do still like, nah, I do not care about what you're talking, and I do not care about this pandemic. What about you, sir?
So your question, if I get it right, you're saying that the impact, responsibility of social media on the behavior of people?
Yes, but I think like, can you give us like how to optimize the usage of social media or in internet, like make an new innovation in order
Right.
to make yes, like that, a new innovation for information
Right.
about
Okay.
healthy.
Okay. So obviously there are two things. First of all, as individuals, what we can do, and then secondly, as government at a state level, what can be done. Now, it's a very delicate thing. If government starts pushing for certain policies, it's considered as they are trying to be intervening in our freedom and personal lifestyle and things like that. So that is, but they can do that through, there's a theory called nudge theory, where they encourage behavior, in good behavior in certain ways. You can type on Google nudge theory. It's a very interesting area where it's applied very much on to change the behavior of people, but that's done at a very high level through encouragement. Then the other part that comes to us as individuals, and as individuals we need to look at screen time. There are already some very interesting apps, screen time behavior monitoring and things like that, so we work on that. And again, it's at individual level. It's we need to learn, but at the same time encourage that, look, more activities and not being glued to social media and things like that is something really helpful. So there are two things. One is, as we said, at individual level, one at policy making level, at the government level, and both have to work in order to see the healthy environment.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Along the way, you can develop applications to that. Okay.
Okay, sir, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay. More question. If anybody want to ask any question, you can raise your hand.
Boleh nanya langsung, Mbak?
Nggih, monggo, Pak.
Hello, Mr. Saadat. I have one question regarding this pandemic era. Yeah, usually we have difficulties in integrate in transferring data. Yeah? So between hospitals, between government to government department, between clinics or other medical facilities. How about in your country? Is there any standardization already applied to the data, medical data stored in the certain format that comply with, for example, HL7 or another standard?
Yeah. So again, it's a work in progress. So just to give you a quick background, UAE it has 7 estates. That makes UAE, Dubai, Sharjah, Abu Dhabi. So there are 7 estates. Government hospitals, they have linked them. Most of the government hospitals, they are linked and sharing is not an issue. But majority of the hospitals, majority of the people still go to private hospitals. And private hospitals, they are pretty much working on island level. There's one private entity, another, they may have 10 hospitals, another has 5 hospitals. So there is no link between those hospitals. Yes, they connect at some very basic level to government centralized system, but there's no complete link with all hospitals and all data. There's a push, especially in pandemic, there's a lot of push that we should go ahead in that direction. But what you raised is a very interesting and very important point. This issue is everywhere. This issue is everywhere. And people are realizing now that something has to be done to make sure that data can be shared, protected from your competitors and things like that. But there has to be a way, and it's still it's going on, but it is not reached the level as would expect. So, for example, a very simple example, they famously mention that if you have to transfer money from one part of the world to another part, within seconds you can send it through Western Union to other things, literally within seconds.
Yeah.
But hospitals, even next door, you can't, because they're using different systems. They want to protect the information. So now they don't have any incentive to share information. So if you don't have any incentive, you don't do that. And that has to come at a higher level, at policy level, that look, you have to share at least some basic information where you unmasked it. And then you share, then it's possible. And I personally always feel that technology is mature enough. We don't have issues with technology. It's us people who have to think and sit together and frame a policy, what needs to be done, what needs to be shared, how it needs to be protected, and things like that.
Yeah. In Indonesia, for example, we have a regulation that we call one data, one data policy. And it's already 3 or 4 years, the regulation, but still difficult to integrate or to interoperate the data to connect between. Yeah.
Exactly.
So in your country, is there any regulation that push all hospital? Yeah.
Yeah, so government hospitals are linked, but private hospitals are not linked. But they are working on it, that what information needs to be shared. But as of now, there's no linkage as of now. Private hospitals, but they have regulations to report to government, but not every data would go there.
Okay.
So yes, it's still a work in progress. Thank you very much. Any other question, Dr. Mukhlasin?
Monggo, yang lain mau nanya silakan.
Okay, any more question? Okay, if there is no more question, I think we could proceed to the next talk. So thank you very much, Dr. Saadat, for the talk. And then I will invite
really appreciate, and I'm really excited. So many people were there attending this. Thank you so much, and we'll continue discussion. Over to you, Dr. Faizal. Looking forward.
But don't forget, Mr. Saadat, I would like to see that there is a cooperation following this occasion.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm extremely excited. I mentioned to Dr. Mukhlisin and all the colleagues we met, I really want to continue. So inshallah, after this talk, we will have a follow-up meeting maybe the coming week,
Yes.
and we will discuss what needs to be done.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Saadat.
Okay, thanks again, Dr. Saadat. We should continue our collaboration in research, for example. Okay, we will keep in touch in the future. Okay, now I would like to invite Dr. Faizal to present his talk, but I want to give some introduction for Dr. Faizal. Dr. Faizal is assistant professor in Department of Information System ITS. His educational background is he graduated from Kumamoto University. He got a doctoral and Master of Engineering degree. And he also graduated from ITS Surabaya. His research interest is in healthcare information system, Rate Variability, and biomedical signal processing. Okay, Pak Faizal, time is yours.
Baik, Bapak Ibu, mohon izin share slide-nya. Baik, terima kasih Pak Muklason atas kesempatannya. Terima kasih juga kepada Bapak Dekan telah memberikan tempat bagi saya untuk sharing. Kepada Bapak Ibu dosen serta peserta webinar yang menyempatkan hadir untuk mengikuti acara ini, terima kasih. Thank you very much, Professor Saadat, for sharing the insight in healthcare informatics. Very nice talk, and my talk will be a small part of that field actually, and it is not be in the management part of the field, but more like in the practical and clinical part. And it will be more focused, and yes, it will be more technical also. And I realized that it is not easy for me to present, I would say, like in more technical way. So I refrain from focusing on that. And in these occasions also, let me present my talk in Indonesian language. So actually, thank you. Baik, Bapak Ibu peserta webinar. Pada kesempatan kali ini saya ingin menyampaikan atau sharing ya mengenai health rate variability. Jadi sebelumnya tadi Bapak Ibu mungkin sudah melihat apa yang Prof. Saadat berikan, yaitu tentang apa namanya healthcare informatics, dan apa yang saya sampaikan ini sebenarnya adalah satu bagian kecil dari healthcare informatics. Kalau tadi di slide itu muncul yang namanya apa tadi, ada clinicals gitu ya Bapak Ibu ya. Nah ini adalah salah satu implementasi dari apa namanya healthcare informatics di bagian clinicals tadi. Kemudian saya coba untuk menyampaikan materi semudah mungkin, cuman tadi sepertinya beberapa hari yang lalu saya agak kilaf menuliskan metode di judulnya gitu ya Bapak Ibu ya. Jadi semoga mudah untuk diterima oleh Bapak Ibu semua. Nah, kalau kita melihat atau mendengar kosakata berikut, heart rate variability, mungkin yang pertama kita pahami di sini adalah mengenai heart rate ya. Kita semua tahu heart rate itu biasanya diukur ya dalam bentuk beat per minute, gitu ya, BPM, di mana heart rate itu adalah yang kita tahu secara umum itu adalah jumlah denyut jantung, gitu kalau bisa saya artikan, selama 1 menit. Jadi berapa jumlah jantung berdenyut selama 1 menit. Nah, tapi di sini sebenarnya untuk heart rate variability itu sedikit berbeda. Jadi kalau heart rate itu adalah beats per minute, kalau heart rate variability itu sebenarnya adalah jarak antara denyut jantung, ya, jarak antara heartbeat. Nah, sekarang permasalahannya bagaimana mendapatkan heartbeat tersebut, ya. Nah, mungkin kalau kita pikirkan dengan mudah itu misalnya kita memegang atau kita memeriksa denyut nadi, atau kita memegang dada kita misalnya di bagian jantung, itu akan terasa jantung berdenyut, ya. Cuman kan kita tidak bisa memakai itu untuk atau supaya bisa diproses lebih lanjut. Nah, dalam hal ini biasanya peneliti menggunakan data yang diambil dari data ECG. Nah, dalam dunia medis sendiri mereka punya sebuah alat yang namanya elektrokardiogram, yaitu ECG ini. Ini sebagai contoh tampilan dari hasil dari ECG itu ada di gambar bagian kiri atas. Itu adalah rekaman dari jantung tadi yang muncul heartbeat-nya. Dan rekaman ini sebenarnya merekam aktivitas listrik ya, atau electrical activity. Saya mungkin lebih nyamannya mengucapkan dengan electrical activity, karena kalau aktivitas listrik itu bagi saya listrik itu tegangan tinggi gitu ya, padahal ini sebenarnya tidak seperti itu. Jadi electrical activity yang direkam sehingga menghasilkan plot yang seperti ini. Dan plotnya itu kalau kita lihat di gambar yang bawah itu ada penamaannya, dan itu adalah plot dalam satu cyclic jantung berdenyut, ya, atau satu cycle jantung memompa darah ke seluruh tubuh dan menyedot darah kotor masuk ke dalam jantung. Jadi seperti itu bagaimana heart rate tadi itu didapatkan. Nah, sekarang bagaimana dengan heart rate variability? Nah, seperti yang saya sebutkan tadi bahwa heart rate variability itu adalah interval atau jarak antara heartbeat. Maka kalau misalnya satu heartbeat seperti ini, kita tidak bisa mendapatkan heart rate. Jadi paling tidak ada 2, kita mendapatkan RR interval, ya, atau interval dari beats tadi. Kenapa disebut RR interval? Karena di sini dalam perhitungannya itu menghitung jarak antara R dan R. Ya. Nah, ini penamaannya memang seperti ini, dari bidang kedokteran juga seperti ini. Fungsinya untuk apa? Tentunya Bapak Ibu semua sudah tahu bahwa ECG itu digunakan untuk melihat kondisi dari jantung. Ya. Penamaannya mungkin juga untuk mempermudah mendeteksi sesuatu yang aneh terjadi gitu ya pada electrical activity-nya, sehingga dokter bisa tahu di bagian mana dari jantung tersebut yang bermasalah. Tapi kita tidak akan membahas ke sana karena ini adalah heart rate variability, di mana jantung tadi berhubungan dengan ECG. Tapi di sini heart rate variability itu sebenarnya sedikit lebih jauh dari apa yang dilihat oleh ECG saja. Kemudian kalau ini dalam rekaman yang pendek, bagaimana dengan rekaman yang panjang? Jadi HRV ini biasanya diambil pada periode waktu tertentu. Ya, paling kalau dilihat dari standar yang telah dipublikasikan oleh beberapa komunitas, itu adalah paling pendeknya adalah 5 menit, gitu ya. Terus bisa juga sampai 24 jam. Itu juga memungkinkan kalau misalnya membutuhkan hasil yang memerlukan rekaman yang lebih panjang. Nah, dengan rekaman yang panjang ini, maka kalau misalnya tadi menghitung jarak, maka kita bisa sistem itu sendiri itu bisa mendeteksi gelombang R-nya dulu, kemudian menghitung jaraknya berapa, lalu mengplot nilai dari jarak tadi pada plot satu dimensi seperti ini terhadap waktu, kemudian dihubungkan. Nah, mudah seperti ini mendapatkan Rate Variability atau RR Interval Time Series, gitu ya. Kemudian setelah ini baru dianalisis lebih lanjut untuk mengetahui hasilnya. Nah, kita mungkin penasaran sebenarnya ngapain, apa yang harus kita lakukan dengan data yang seperti ini. Untuk apa data yang seperti ini, gitu ya. Kalau ECG tadi itu memang diperuntukkan untuk melihat kondisi dari jantung. Kalau misalnya heart rate variability digunakan untuk melihat apanya, gitu ya. Nah, mungkin Bapak Ibu mungkin tahu bahwa denyut jantung kita itu kira-kira jaraknya sama atau tidak, gitu ya. Tentunya tidak ya. Kalau misalnya kita berlari, maka denyut jantungnya akan semakin banyak, gitu ya. Dalam satu menitnya itu pasti menjadi banyak. Kalau 1 menitnya menjadi banyak, maka jaraknya pasti, kalau misalnya jaraknya itu dalam hitungan second atau millisecond, pasti semakin kecil jaraknya. Gitu ya. Kalau misalnya kita duduk atau istirahat, pasti juga semakin besar. Gitu ya. Itu kalau misalnya dalam rekaman yang panjang. Tapi kalau misalnya dalam rekaman yang pendek, katakanlah misalnya 10 detik misalnya. Nah, antara satu jarak dengan jarak yang lain, atau misalnya di sini dalam bit yang pertama dengan bit yang kedua, terus bit yang kedua dengan bit yang ketiga, ini bagaimana jaraknya? Apakah sama misalnya dalam kondisi yang sama? Nah, tentunya tidak, ya. Tentunya itu berbeda. Nah, sehingga menimbulkan pertanyaan, kira-kira apa yang membuat itu berbeda, gitu ya. Nah, saya tidak akan membahas banyak tentang ini, tapi bagaimanapun juga kalau heart rate variability itu paling tidak ada sedikit informasi mengenai apa alasan dibalik atau apa yang mendasari heart rate variability, gitu ya. Nah, jadi kalau yang ECG tadi untuk melihat kondisi dari jantung, maka heart rate variability itu lebih jauh lagi melihat bagaimana jantung tersebut itu diatur, ya. Bagaimana jantung tersebut diatur. Jadi kita tahu bahwa semua organ kita itu diatur oleh yang namanya kalau dalam bahasa Inggrisnya adalah central nervous system, gitu ya, atau sistem syaraf pusat, yaitu otak, kemudian sumsum tulang belakang, gitu ya, spinal cord. Kemudian aturan oleh central nervous system pada masing-masing organ tadi melalui yang namanya autonomic nervous system. Makanya beberapa organ yang berjalan secara secara otomatis, ya, yang kelihatannya secara otomatis itu sebenarnya ada yang mengatur, yaitu central nervous system itu sendiri. Ya. Nah, beberapa organ contohnya adalah yang ada pada gambar ini. Semua organ sebenarnya artinya diatur oleh central nervous system. Ya. Nah, autonomic nervous system sendiri atau sistem syaraf yang mengatur beberapa organ secara otomatis tadi kelihatannya itu memiliki 2 jalur, yaitu parasimpatetik dan simpatetik. Jadi ada 2 jalur ini. Dan 2 jalur ini itu bekerja secara berlawanan, ya. Dalam kondisi normal itu kelihatannya berlawanan, tapi padahal kenyataannya itu sebenarnya kompleks, ya. Nah, di sini contoh misalnya bagaimana parasympathetic nerves itu ya, atau syaraf parasimpatetik itu bekerja, atau bagaimana sympathetic nerve bekerja. Contoh misalnya yang paling atas di situ adalah pupils, gitu ya. Pupils, bagaimana mereka mengatur pupils. Nah, parasympathetic nerve itu mengatur pupil untuk mengecilkan ukuran dari pupils. Sedangkan simpatetik itu untuk memperbesar pupils. Nah, kita tahu bahwa pupils ini besar atau kecil itu sebenarnya kan dipengaruhi oleh cahaya yang masuk, ya. Kalau misalnya banyak cahaya, maka dia akan mengecil. Kalau misalnya sedikit cahaya, maka dia akan membesar. Nah, namun bukan itu sebenarnya yang mengatur. Yang mengatur adalah tetap central nervous system tadi, di mana central nervous system itu akan mendapatkan respon dari reseptor yang mendapatkan cahaya tadi, kemudian mengatur pupils untuk membesar ataukah mengecil, ya, tergantung dari banyaknya cahaya seperti itu. Kemudian kalau jantung bagaimana? Nah, jantung ini juga sama. Parasimpatetik itu memperlambat, kalau simpatetik itu mempercepat. Gitu ya. Nah, secara umum parasimpatetik ini digunakan untuk aktivitas-aktivitas yang rest and digest, gitu ya, atau aktivitas-aktivitas yang sifatnya lambat. Sedangkan simpatetik itu adalah fight to flight. Terus kemudian, nah bagaimana atau hubungannya dengan heart rate variability? Nah ternyata di dalam penelitian-penelitian medis mereka sudah menyimpulkan bahwa pada kondisi-kondisi tertentu dari tubuh manusia itu memunculkan aktivitas dari parasimpatetik dan simpatetik tersebut, gitu ya. Contohnya misalnya perbedaan postur itu juga bisa merubah kondisi dari autonomic nervous system. Misalnya tidur, ya, terus kemudian berdiri upright misalnya. Nah ini ada contoh dari rekaman ECG dari subjek dengan posisi supine, gitu ya. Terus subjek dengan posisi upright. Nah terus kemudian kita lihat bagaimana dengan jarak dari RR-nya tadi, gitu ya. Ternyata di supine ini jaraknya sangat lebar, upright ini jaraknya sangat lebih sempit, gitu ya, dibandingkan dengan yang supine. Nah ini berarti cocok dengan apa yang ada di parasimpatetik tadi, gitu ya. Berarti dari sini kita tahu bahwa sebenarnya HRV itu ada hubungannya dengan autonomic nervous system. Nah, kalau misalnya rekaman itu diambil secara panjang terus kemudian dihitung tadi ya HRV-nya tadi atau area interval time series-nya tadi, maka akan jadi seperti ini dengan kondisi yang sama. Sebelah kiri yang warna ungu itu tadi adalah supine dan yang sebelah kanan tadi adalah upright ya. Kondisinya seperti ini. Kalau kita lihat time series ya di plot yang kiri atas ini adalah time series yang supine tadi. Nah, kalau kita lihat, kita bandingkan dengan yang upright, ternyata rata-ratanya itu adalah lebih tinggi dibandingkan dengan yang upright. Rata-rata RR lebih tinggi, berarti jarak antara RR-nya besar. Berarti denyut jantungnya itu lambat, ya, semakin lambat. Itu seperti itu. Terus kalau kita lihat, nah ini yang paling penting, jadi tidak hanya perubahan min saja, ya, atau lambat dan cepat saja, tapi juga variabelnya, variabilitasnya, atau perubahannya antara jarak denyut antara denyut 1 dengan 2 dan 2 dengan 3 dan seterusnya itu juga besar pada supine posture, gitu ya, dibandingkan dengan upright. Nah ini contoh untuk perhitungan time domain. Nah sekarang kita tahu bahwa kalau memang kita ingin melihat kondisi autonomis, gitu ya, autonomic nervous system, ANS. Kalau yang ECG tadi melihat jantung, tapi kalau misalnya HRV tadi secara otomatis melihat kondisi dari autonomic nervous system. Nah, berarti apa sebenarnya yang dilakukan oleh peneliti pada bidang ini? Ya, kalau kita lihat di sini tadi upright itu adalah aktivitas yang menggambarkan parasympathetic nerve itu menjadi lebih aktif dibandingkan dengan sympathetic nerve, ya. Kalau misalnya berdiri, ya, upright, itu berarti sympathetic nerve-nya itu lebih aktif dibandingkan dengan parasimpatetik, dan itu berjalan berkebalikan seperti itu. Nah, kalau kita lihat bahwa dari min saja kita bisa tahu kalau minnya besar, maka pasti parasimpatetic nerve itu yang lebih aktif dibandingkan simpatetik. Sedangkan minnya kecil, maka sympathetic nerve itu lebih aktif. Ya. Itu kalau kita lihat dari hasil yang time domain ini. Sehingga kita bisa tahu kalau dalam penelitian ini, ya berarti pekerjaan terpentingnya itu adalah kita mencari karakteristik dari data itu sendiri. Ya, secara teknis seperti itu yang biasa dilakukan. Jadi min itu adalah satu karakteristik dari time series tadi. Terus standar deviasi juga sama, satu karakteristik. Nah, sekarang tinggal bagaimana karakteristik tadi itu berhubungan dengan autonomic nervous system-nya. bagaimana karakteristik tadi berhubungan dengan parasimpatetik dan simpatetik nerve, seperti itu. Kemudian apakah cukup hanya dengan mean dan standar deviasi saja? Nah, ini tidak cukup. Ada banyak metode ya, dan minimum itu 2 metode ini, time domain dan frekuensi domain. Dan ini memang sudah ada standarnya. Jadi American Heart Association itu telah mengeluarkan sebuah standar dalam bentuk paper seperti itu yang menyatakan bahwa nilai-nilai tertentu ya di sini khususnya di dalam frekuensi domain ya di sini ya, low frequency komponen itu menggambarkan atau berhubungan dengan aktivitas dari simpatetik dan parasimpatetik. High frequency itu menggambarkan hubungan dengan parasimpatetik. Kemudian rasionya itu hubungan dengan simpatetik, gitu ya. Jadi LF dan HF ini adalah low and high frequency komponen ya, yang biasanya dihitung dengan menggunakan Fourier transform atau dengan menggunakan metode signal dekomposisi yang lain. Oke. Nah, baik. Nah, sekarang kira-kira apa saja yang bisa membuat ANS itu berubah ya, atau bisa membuat ANS itu antara simpatetik dan parasimpatetik tadi aktivitasnya itu berubah-ubah. Nah, salah satu hal yang mempengaruhi itu adalah medicine intake ya. Jadi mengkonsumsi obat itu bisa mengubah hal tersebut ya. Kemudian sebagai contoh saja di gambar ini ada dua obat utama yang dipakai untuk melakukan kondisi dari ANS. Beta blocker itu untuk mengecilkan aktivitas dari sympathetic nervous activity. Terus kemudian atropin ini biasanya dipakai untuk mengecilkan aktivitas dari parasympathetic nervous activity. Sehingga contohnya misalnya di dalam sini di gambar 3 gambar HRV ini, yang paling atas itu tidak pakai medicine intake gitu ya. Kemudian yang kedua ini minum atropin. Ya, minum atropin berarti aktivitas parasimpatetiknya terblok. Karena terblok maka simpatetik nervousnya itu semakin meningkat. Nah, semakin meningkat, nah seperti yang di gambar sebelumnya tadi, ciri-cirinya itu adalah HRV-nya turun gitu ya. Terus min-nya turun, kemudian standar deviasinya juga semakin mengecil dan kondisinya seperti ini. Gitu ya. Kemudian untuk yang gambar ketiga ini minum beta blocker misalnya. Terus menghasilkan min-nya naik ya, sedikit naik, kemudian standar deviasinya juga semakin besar. Ini yang terjadi ketika seseorang itu minum obat yang dipakai untuk melakukan alternation terhadap autonomic nervous system. Sehingga kalau misalnya, mungkinkah kalau misalnya tadi pupil itu sebenarnya hanya dipengaruhi oleh cahaya? Sebenarnya juga tidak. Kalau misalnya seseorang misalnya mengkonsumsi atropin misalnya, dia akan pupilnya akan tetap membesar meskipun banyak cahaya ada di sekitarnya. Ya. Dan kalau misalnya tertarik dengan ini, itu ada satu tanaman ya, namanya itu adalah Atropa belladonna. Itu dipakai untuk, kalau zaman dulu dipakai untuk kosmetik ya, memperbesar pupil. Itu memungkinkan, jadi minum itu, tapi itu sangat beracun. Jadi menegaskan kembali sebenarnya bahwa semua organ itu sangat dipengaruhi oleh central nervous system. Kemudian physical mental stimulation itu juga mempengaruhi ya, tadi ya postural change tadi antara tidur dan berdiri. Kemudian arithmetic test misalnya atau problem solving task diminta untuk mengerjakan soal yang sulit misalnya, itu juga mempengaruhi autonomic nervous system. Kemudian ANS itu juga berbeda antara subject group ya. Di sini misalnya umur, kemudian gender itu juga mempengaruhi. Nah, oleh karena itu dalam eksperimen Rate Variability, pemilihan subjek ini penting. Harus dalam satu grup yang sama itu harus pada kelompok umur yang sama, kemudian pada gender yang sama. Itu untuk menjaga hasilnya supaya valid. Kalau dilihat di sini pada rasio HF yang menunjukkan sympathetic nervous activity tadi itu mulai dari muda itu semakin naik ya aktivitasnya secara umum sampai umur 40-an, kemudian turun. Dan tendensinya untuk wanita itu lebih kecil, ya lebih kecil aktivitasnya dibandingkan dengan laki-laki. Sedangkan yang saya pilih di sini HF ya, menggambarkan parasimpatetik tadi, itu semakin bertambahnya umur itu semakin kecil nilainya, gitu ya. Sedangkan laki-laki itu sedangkan perempuan itu lebih besar dibandingkan laki-laki untuk aktivitas parasimpatetik. Seperti ini contohnya. Kemudian selain umur, terus kemudian tadi ada gender, ya, ada postur, terus konsumsi obat, juga penyakit itu juga mempengaruhi perubahan dari ANS. Misalnya ini contoh ada satu penyakit namanya SAH gitu ya. Kondisinya itu juga mempengaruhi, berbeda antara misalnya SAH yang misalnya baru stadium awal atau mungkin yang stadium akhir ya. Atau antara normal dan subjek yang memiliki diabetes itu juga beda. Kalau dilihat dari gambar ini, standar deviasi dari HRV dari pasien dengan diabetes itu tidak mengumpul pada kelompok-kelompok normal saja. Ini yang kotak itu adalah area orang-orang normal, gitu ya. Diambil dari gambar yang sebelah kiri. Kemudian ada titik-titik hitam yang ada di bawah, itu menggambarkan bahwa standar deviasinya itu kecil. Kalau kita hubungkan dengan simpatetik tadi, berarti aktivitas simpatetiknya itu lebih besar dibandingkan dengan normal. Kondisinya seperti itu. Kemudian efek dari mental activity itu juga memungkinkan berbeda. Ini contoh ada satu penelitian dari Benadi et al. Ini, dia menyuruh beberapa subjek untuk melakukan ini ya, spontaneous breathing ini dalam kondisi duduk, kemudian nafas biasa, ya. Terus kemudian silent reading, dia membaca buku, ya, tetapi diam tanpa diucapkan. Kemudian free talking ini berbicara bebas, menggambarkan aktivitasnya sehari-hari, dan mental stress ini dengan arithmetic test, ya, dengan perhitungan-perhitungan. Tetapi dilakukan secara silent, ya, ditulis bentuknya. Nah ini kondisinya kalau kita lihat, ini saya pilih yang HF ya, tadi menggambarkan parasimpatetik tadi, itu ternyata di free talking dan mental stress ini lebih kecil dibandingkan dengan yang rest sama silent reading. Itu berarti pada saat kita berbicara, pada saat kita mengerjakan tes, itu kegiatan parasimpatetiknya itu semakin mengecil. Ya, kegiatan yang rest tadi itu semakin mengecil. Ada kemungkinan aktivitas simpatetiknya itu semakin membesar ya. Ada kemungkinan karena kita tidak bisa melihat itu apakah pasti membesar karena kita harus melihat markernya untuk simpatetik itu bagaimana. Ya, tapi ini karena tidak ada berarti menekankan pada aktivitas parasimpatetik yang mengecil. Nah, biasanya bagaimana mendapatkan data untuk analisis gitu ya, atau mendapatkan data untuk memproses rate variability. Di sini biasanya saya mengambil data dari ini ya, dari standar lim.Lit2. Ini adalah standar dari pengambil data menggunakan ECG yang lengkap 12 lead. Biasanya kalau ECG itu ada beberapa skin electrode ya, elektroda yang ditempelkan di kulit, itu ditempelkan ada banyak sekali di sana, dan itu kalau yang standar medis itu menghasilkan 12 plot gitu ya, 12 plot. Nah ini saya ambil lim.Lit2 ya, yang khusus ini. Kenapa ambil yang ini? Karena kalau dilihat di situ plot R-nya itu sangat tinggi. Nah, itu memudahkan komputer ya mendeteksi air wave-nya tadi, sehingga mudah untuk mendapatkan air wave, sehingga mudah juga untuk menghitung jarak antara RR-nya. Itu alasan dari pemilihan dari lim.Lit2 ini. Kemudian, nah ini metode ini sebenarnya saya ingin tampilkan banyak ya, tapi mungkin susah juga dimengerti. Oleh karena itu, ini selain yang time domain dan frekuensi domain tadi, itu juga ada banyak sekali metode pada yang masuk dalam kategori nonlinear method ini, gitu ya. Itu ada banyak sekali. Misalnya ini contoh dengan menggunakan point care plot analysis. Ini di gambar bagian kiri. Ya, ini bisa membedakan antara normal dan pasien dengan myocardial infarction. Ya, ini sejenis penyakit jantung. Kemudian yang sebelah kanan itu dengan menggunakan satu metode yang namanya DFA, itu bisa melihat resiko dari cardiac mortality. Ya. Seperti itu, banyak sekali metode karena satu metode biasanya spesifik, gitu ya, bisa dipakai untuk penyakit tertentu, misalnya, atau dalam kondisi tertentu. Tapi untuk kondisi yang lain itu mungkin tidak bisa. Min dari HRV tadi mungkin untuk normal condition bisa, tapi untuk dalam kondisi disease ya itu juga tidak bisa. Kondisinya seperti itu. Nah, terus kemudian yang terakhir, bagaimana implementasinya? Gitu ya. Nah, kalau misalnya Bapak Ibu membaca paper-paper di bidang medis, itu pasti banyak sekali paper mengenai heart rate variability yang fungsinya adalah untuk melihat bagaimana heart rate variability itu berubah pada kondisi penyakit-penyakit yang berbeda. Itu biasanya seperti itu. Karena melihat kondisi heart rate variability berubah itu sebenarnya juga secara tidak langsung melihat kondisi dari autonomic nervous system, gitu ya. Dibanding dengan menggunakan, kalau ini HRV itu adalah satu non-invasive method, sedangkan invasive metodenya juga ada, tapi sangat sulit dilakukan dan membutuhkan banyak waktu, gitu ya. Jadi ini salah satu alternatif untuk melihat secara langsung dengan cepat kondisi ANS dari disease tersebut. Nah, dengan kita mengetahui kondisi ANF dari disease tersebut dengan menggunakan analisis HRV, padahal HRV itu sendiri juga bisa didapatkan dengan mudah asalkan ada data dari ECG tadi, maka akan memungkinkan bahwa nilai-nilai dari HRV tadi dipakai untuk memprediksi bagaimana disease tadi itu akan berkembang. Ya. Jadi bagaimana disease-nya, bagaimana pasiennya ini akan sembuh atau tidak, itu ada kemungkinan bisa diambil di sana. Nah, oleh karena itu banyak peneliti itu juga mengusulkan beberapa nilai-nilai dari HRV tadi dari berbagai analisis metode itu dipakai untuk dipakai sebagai prognosis estimation, gitu ya. Dan itu memungkinkan untuk dilakukan secara real time. Jadi beberapa waktu yang lalu saya mencoba untuk membuat semacam monitoring program, gitu ya. Jadi sebenarnya kalau di rumah sakit, terutama di ICU itu mungkin Bapak Ibu bisa melihat semacam komputer gitu yang ada di sebelahnya pasien. Dari situ semua sinyal tubuh, gitu ya, atau vital sign itu masuk ke dalam komputer tersebut untuk dimonitor oleh medical staff-nya. Ya. Salah satu yang dimonitor itu adalah ECG. Nah, karena ECG sudah masuk di sana, maka kalau misalnya saya mau melakukan analisis, gampang tinggal ambil datanya saja. Ya. Dan sayangnya, bedside monitor yang ada sekarang itu mengambil ECG dari pasien dan habis itu terus membuangnya. Karena sebenarnya tujuan utamanya itu adalah untuk melihat bentuk dari ECG-nya saja. Ya. Jadi kalau ECG paling gampangnya gini, kalau misalnya ECG-nya itu lurus, gitu ya, vertikal, berarti itu pasiennya sudah tidak ada. Gitu ya. Gampangnya seperti itu. Kalau misalnya akan ada keanehan, itu dokter yang akan tahu dengan kondisi pasien tersebut. Nah, sedangkan saya itu lebih dari itu, saya coba ambil ECG tersebut dan analisis HRV-nya. Nah, dengan melihat HRV-nya, maka medical staff-nya itu bisa secara otomatis melihat kondisi dari ANS-nya tadi. Ya, jadi itu ide dibalik pembuatan ini yang sebenarnya dulu itu juga di request oleh dokter yang ada di dalam ICU itu sendiri. Itu kondisinya seperti itu. Di gambar sebelah kanan itu adalah saya sebut sebagai observation room. Di situ ada layar monitor yang besar. Nanti dokter bisa melihat progres dari HRV-nya tadi. Misalnya min-nya HRV bagaimana, ya, standar deviasinya bagaimana dan lain sebagainya. Kemudian implementasi yang lain, ini contohnya adalah biofeedback. Ini contohnya adalah personal life assessment. Itu seperti monitoring tools, ya, untuk melihat stress level dari individuals, gitu ya. Jadi kalau penelitian mengenai HRV itu sebenarnya tidak melulu healthcare ya, healthcare yang dalam arti rumah sakit dan pasien, tapi juga well-being gitu ya. Jadi bagaimana manusia itu bisa hidup lebih baik lagi dengan cara melihat tadi biofeedback-nya gitu ya. Jadi sebenarnya biofeedback itu adalah mekanisme untuk melihat kondisi tubuh ya dari berbagai data yang didapatkan dari ya tubuh mereka aslinya. Kemudian bisa juga untuk melihat kualitas tidur dari individual gitu ya, dari masing-masing orang. Kemudian bisa juga untuk mengecek dampak dari sebuah meditasi. Ya, kalau di Indonesia mungkin orang Indonesia suka pijat gitu ya. Bisa juga untuk melihat dampak dari pijat. Suatu ketika saya pernah membaca paper tentang ini juga pijat. Kalau di Jepang itu banyak penelitian mengenai dampak dari terapi mandi dengan onsen ya, atau terapi dengan mandi dengan hot spring. Karena di sana ritual tersebut itu biasa dipakai untuk penyembuhan penyembuhan sistem syaraf ya, sistem syaraf mereka. Kemudian dalam sport ini juga untuk melihat training load-nya bagaimana, apakah melebihi dari load yang dimiliki oleh masing-masing atlet tadi atau enggak. Kemudian satu implementasi lain adalah untuk mendeteksi kantuk. Nah, ini juga ada. Ya, meskipun ini sebenarnya penelitiannya sangat sulit, ya, sangat sulit sekali. Dan sampai sekarang ini belum ada produk-produk mobil yang mengimplementasikan ini, gitu ya. Belum ada. Tapi saya lihat di beberapa berita yang muncul di sini ini sudah mulai untuk menerapkannya, gitu ya. Kalau teknologi sekarang yang ada mungkin face recognition untuk pendeteksi kantuk itu mungkin sudah ada. Tapi untuk yang ini masih dalam tahap penelitian. Ada banyak sekali paper yang membahas tentang ini. Kemudian emotion detection. Nah, ini in e-commerce. Nah, ini satu penelitian yang sangat-sangat baru ya. Dan di bidang information system sendiri ini sudah masuk. Jadi kalau misalnya melihat kalau bagi teman-teman yang di information system itu salah satu riset fokusnya dari Asosiasi Sistem Informasi Dunia itu adalah tentang ini gitu ya. Dan mereka sudah memberikan nama untuk ini yaitu Neuro IS gitu ya. Dan itu memang tidak melulu neuro saja atau brain saja, tapi juga sistem syaraf itu sendiri. Dan HRV itu adalah salah satu measures ya atau ukuran-ukuran yang dipakai untuk melihat dampak dari terutama di sini misalnya emotion gitu ya. Atau tadi mungkin Prof. Saadat menyebutkan behavior ya. Jadi bagaimana behavior atau emotions dari customer kita misalnya gitu ya. Karena dalam hal electronic market atau e-commerce itu sebenarnya kan mereka punya masalah dalam memahami konsumen. Ya. Ada banyak cara sekali, ada banyak cara untuk memahami konsumen. Ya. Dan ini adalah salah satu cara yang mungkin sangat jujur karena diambil dari data langsung dari tubuh dan data itu tidak mungkin berbohong. Ya. Seperti itu contoh mungkin. Kemudian sampai di sini terima kasih atas waktunya. Mungkin pertanyaan dan tanggapan mengenai Rate Variability ini saya persilahkan. Waktu saya kembalikan ke Pak Mukarson. Terima kasih.
Oke, baik. Terima kasih banyak Pak.
Halo, Pak Mukarson. Bapak Ibu ada pertanyaan? Monggo silahkan.
Oh, Pak Wadek ada. afternoon, Odek. Saya bertanya kalau emang nggak ada yang lain.
Iya
Boleh?
Pak, silakan.
Pak Faizal, terima kasih atas paparannya ya. Beda dengan yang di ini ya, di poster. So I can ask you in English maybe because Mr. Saadat may be waiting for us what is discussed about. Pak Faizal, we know that the ACG monitoring system is very helpful, yeah. Especially if can be used in daily life. So it's mean to measure the heart rate, heartbeat, and then to classify whether there is any symptom or any abnormal signal happen. Yeah, so it can be used as early warning. So how far your research can be directed into that goals? You understand?
Yes, okay. Thank you for the questions. Okay. So basically, there are a lot of research stage in this HIV research. The first stage, I think, how to propose or how to find the best method or a best, finding the characteristic of heart rate variability itself. So in my current study, in my current research is I'm trying to apply original research or original method, which is used to characterize the heart rate variability better than other methods. So not yet implemented yet because implementing the HIV research is not easy actually. So as what I mentioned in the implementations example, the one of the most easiest implementations is only showing what the disease patients heart rate variability will be like, and then as compared to the normal one. And of course, in the medical field, that kind of course, that kind of research is very contributing. But in the field of, for example, electrical engineering or computer science is not quite interesting anymore. And the problem is in my side, making the device, how to make the device easy to wear is another problem. So not only the how to analyze the HRV, but also how to implement is also a problem for me. But currently I research in the stage of finding better method to characterize the heart rate variability.
Okay. And the second question, maybe, is it your research fully supported by your lab and by your department? Because, really directed to biomedical or electrical engineering. How about your opinion?
Yes. For me, when I was first starting study about heart rate variability, for me it's like I'm trying to solve or I'm trying to study a different world or different research field. But actually,
if not fully supported, I will ask the head of department, Pak Mujahidin.
No, it's supported. It's supported. It actually have a connection between the study of heart rate variability and information systems. Okay. As what I mentioned in the last example of implementation, it has connection.
Okay.
And in most of my lab member studies, not most of it, but probably 3 out of 7 study about healthcare informatics. So not only me, others also study healthcare informatics.
Okay, good to know that. Thank you, Pak Faizal.
Thank you, Pak. Yeah.
Can I ask one question, Professor Eddie? Can I ask one question?
Okay.
Yes. Okay, Dr. Faizal, yeah, I think it obviously, I should say, unfortunately, I could not understand much.
So sorry for that.
No, that's perfectly fine. But I was trying to make sense. It's my fault. I stayed in Malaysia for almost 8 years and I've not picked Bahasa, apart from maybe Terima Kasih. So I've not learned, unfortunately, much. My wife learned a bit, and so my son learned a bit. But unfortunately, I'm very bad at learning new languages. So I was looking obviously at your slides and trying to make some sense out of it. And I could see you were talking about heart and other diabetes and things like that, kind of data, which was coming out. My question is very simple, and maybe you can just, so obviously you're working on the materials so that you can get better data, right? Is that what it is? So that you can collect more accurate data? Is that right? One
yes.
of your, right?
Yes,
so,
accurate result actually.
Yeah, so which is very interesting because that could go into more fundamental research kind of thing. My question is that, I mean, how many patients' data you have? Are you collecting data and you're comparing some kind of some trends coming out of it, or you're just purely relying from data from one patient and you're saying that, look, previous metal was giving that much sort of better results and this one is improving? What exactly is it in terms of data you are doing? So that I'm just trying to build a story here so that we can somehow collaborate here. That's what my interest is.
Okay, when I was studying in Japan, it's not difficult to find the patient's data from the hospital because they have quite a strong connection between the university and the hospital. Yeah. But when I was coming to Indonesia, it's difficult for me to get the real data from the hospital.
Right.
And because of no connections and the probably the say like device limitations in the hospital also. Right. So currently I analyze data from the internet, which is a lot of data about the heart recording in the internet, and I use that and that data also widely used by the researcher in all over the world.
Right. So
we can collaborate probably about data. If you okay, the problem is data for me. So more I would say like for instance in current conditions we are now facing the COVID-19 conditions. And to get the COVID-19 condition data is problem for me. I really like to study more about that, but not easy to get the data.
That's right. So in a way, so have you done any real studies with patients, any data, few data as of now? Maybe
yes.
Normal. Okay. How
yes,
big is that? How many patients or how many normal people? Because we can just collect data for even normal people and do scan and compare if they're healthy with the data which is non-healthy and things like that. So a lot of a study can happen even in that.
Yes, of course. So in order to draw the conclusions of HRV results, more patients data should be get. So of course, at least 8 for in order to get the also like the specific result from the research itself. So
right.
So more data is better.
Right. But have you done that even on normal people, collected their data? How big
yes.
you have?
Yes,
okay.
Of course.
How big would that be as of now? How big would that be? Few patients, few people, 10, 15 people? How
yes,
big?
around that. Yeah, around that.
Okay.
Around that. Mm-hmm.
So
But only for normal people. For patients, not so easy. Not so
No, I think that's again a very interesting thing. We can start by looking into collecting data from Indonesia and here, And we can look biomarkers, for example, that is there any difference for same people who are in normal range and those who are. So while we explore, maybe Professor Eddie Dean can maybe connect us to some hospitals there, and I can also explore here with hospitals, but also compare healthy data. And then we see that what can be done at the level. So one could be, as we said, just exploring those parts, healthy patients data. We just keep building our students and whatever coming different age groups, and then mask that private information away from that and just look basic information. For example, male, 30 years old, some underlying diseases, what is their sort of heart signature, biomarkers likewise, and then we compare like for like between different countries and see, are they same, are they different, and things like that. So I think potential is very interesting to start until we build other things.
Yes, that is the interesting study, I think, to compare that also.
Okay, very much. I think it was, as I said, I could not understand really, but I was following slides and I could see you have done
very good understanding, I think.
I could sense you have done some very interesting work. So inshallah, we'll arrange a meeting maybe next week or something.
Of course, yeah.
Through Dr. Mukhlasin, and then we can work on it, inshallah.
Okay, yes, sure, Dr. Saadat.
Baik, Pak Mukhlasan, saya mohon izin untuk bicara sebentar ya. Oke, jadi gini Pak Edi, ini Mr. Saadat adalah temannya Pak Imam Bahyaki. Jadi beliau yang mengenalkan kami dengan Mr. Saadat, sehingga kami pada hari ini itu bisa menyelenggarakan acara webinar. Jadi begitu Pak Edi. Okay, so to Mr. Saadat, I say thanks. I hope you can continue to cooperate with my department, and there are many collaboration that we can do. For example, as guest lecturer atau nanti joint research and writing article. We really hope for Mr. Saadat in another time.
No, definitely. We
Yeah.
look forward to and I mean, I'm really, I should say, honored to address and then talk to you. It was really a pleasure. And inshallah, we will continue. As I said, we need to set some timelines, maybe early next week or something. I'm available, we can arrange a time. And then so that we don't forget this just as a seminar, as Dean said. So that we can just explore writing articles, writing, working collaborative, writing some grants there and here and things like that. So all that is possible.
Okay, yeah. Mr. Imam give you greetings to Mr. Saadat. He has another meeting, so he cannot join in this webinar.
No problem.
Assalamualaikum for Mr. Imam Bahyaki.
Inshallah.
Terima kasih Pak Mukhlasan, Pak.
Ya.
Thank you very much. Terima kasih. If I am.
Terima kasih.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Saadat. Pak Faizal, there is another question from Bu Nada. Silahkan, Bu Nada.
Ya, terima kasih atas kesempatannya. Sangat menarik sekali, Pak Faizal. Kebetulan saya research interest-nya juga mengenai cardiac engineering. Saya ada pertanyaan terkait teknis. Ya, tadi dibahas mengenai low frequency dan juga perbandingan LF dan HF ratio dari HRV. Low frequency dibanding dengan high frequency ratio. Nah, kalau boleh tahu itu untuk menganalisis domain frekuensi hingga menemukan LF per HF ratio dibutuhkan durasi waktu minimal berapa lama untuk sinyal ECG-nya. Karena kan itu analisisnya itu kan ditinjau dari sisi non-stasionernya ya. Jadi kalau misalnya itu waktunya terlalu sedikit kan nggak akan kelihatan fluktuasi dari frekuensi rendah ECG itu sendiri. Ya, terima kasih.
Ya, baik. Terima kasih Bu Nada pertanyaannya. Memang benar. Jadi dalam dokumen standar ya, saya mengacu ke standar saja karena itu juga sebenarnya dapatnya dari standar, gold standarnya HRV. Untuk standar rekam HRV yang ada itu minimal adalah 5 menit, Bu. 5 menit itu paling tidak 5 menit itu mungkin low frekuensi ya. Kalau misalnya sebenarnya very low frekuensi itu juga ada, tapi mungkin tidak mungkin memakai data yang 5 menit, 10 menit seperti itu tidak bisa. Mungkin butuh data yang sampai 24 jam. Saya kira seperti itu untuk jumlah rekamannya. Gitu, Bu.
Ya, terima kasih Pak Faizal. Mungkin untuk next time bisa kolaborasi penelitian begitu, Pak.
Iya, Bu. Silakan.
Tunggu Pak dari biomedik.
Oke, baik. Pak Faizal, ini masih ada 2 pertanyaan. Oke, yang pertama Pak Faizal, ini ada pertanyaan dari Ariful. HRV seperti yang telah dijelaskan sebelumnya dapat digunakan untuk mendeteksi penyakit berdasarkan aktivitas denyut jantung. Apakah memungkinkan HRV ini dapat digunakan untuk mendeteksi COVID-19? Gimana Pak Faizal?
Ya, karena baik, karena saya memang belum meneliti tentang ini, saya tidak bisa menjawab dengan tepat ya. Tapi kalau dilihat dari kondisi dari COVID-19 sendiri itu kan sebenarnya dia berdampak pada beberapa penyakit-penyakit tertentu gitu ya. Kemudian sedangkan HRV sendiri itu tidak secara spesifik melihat penyakitnya, tetapi melihat kondisi dari autonomic nervous system tadi yang berdampak karena ada penyakit. Gitu. Jadi pasti itu bisa gitu ya, dipakai untuk melihat itu. Tapi untuk mengkategorikan apakah itu COVID atau enggak, saya kira perlu penelitian lebih lanjut.
Oke, baik. Ada satu lagi Pak Faizal, pertanyaan dari Erik Irham Lutfi, Sarjana Keperawatan, Nurse, Magister Keperawatan. Selain untuk melihat variability heart rate, apakah dengan HRV ini bisa disetting untuk memberikan alarm apabila terjadi perubahan heart rate yang mendadak, misalkan terjadi penurunan atau peningkatan?
Ya, baik. Ya, sistem yang saya buat tadi itu bisa mendeteksi itu. Ya, bisa mendeteksi itu. Karena kalau di sistem ECG tadi di dalam bedside monitor itu kalau misalnya ada perubahan nanti alarm berbunyi gitu ya. Itu pada form dari ECG-nya, dari bentuk dari ECG-nya. Tetapi heart rate variability-nya atau autonomic nervous system observation-nya kan tidak bisa melihat itu. Hanya HRV yang bisa. Nah, oleh karena itu di sistem yang saya buat tadi itu kalau misalnya ada penurunan yang sangat melebihi threshold misalnya, itu akan ada warning-nya. Itu ide dari pembuatan monitoring HRV yang saya buat tadi. Kurang lebih seperti itu. Dan memang mungkin Ibu ya tadi ya, yang di bidang kedokteran, saya tidak tahu apakah sekarang itu ada atau enggak, tapi setahu saya alat yang seperti itu tidak ada. Jadi yang ada ya bedside monitor itu. Tapi untuk monitoring HRV ini tidak ada, gitu ya. Bahkan salah satu rumah sakit di Jepang yang berkolaborasi dengan universitas tempat saya kuliah itu juga meminta untuk dibuatkan, gitu. Berarti kan di Jepang saja belum ada, berarti pastinya juga belum banyak ada alat yang seperti itu. Dan memang untuk studi HRV ini tidak semua staf medis itu mengakuinya. Ya, dan ini memang diakui oleh beberapa staf medis di Jepang. Tidak semua mengakuinya, tidak semua percaya terhadap hasil dari HRV. Tapi terutama hasil-hasil yang dari metode-metode yang non-linear tadi, gitu ya, karena tidak ada standarnya dan lain sebagainya. Gitu ya. Tapi memang beberapa dokter itu ada yang memiliki visi yang lebih jauh ke depan. Mempercayai hasil-hasil dari HRV dan terus mendukung penelitian-penelitian HRV sehingga mereka menerima hasil tersebut dan mau menerapkan di rumah sakit tersebut. Saya di Indonesia itu susah ya, bagi saya sendiri juga mau masuk ke dalam rumah sakit misalnya itu juga untuk apa gitu ya, karena di luar negeri juga belum ada, itu susahnya. Seperti itu, Pak.
Oke, Pak Faisal, ada satu lagi nih pertanyaan dari Rowi, Pak Rowi mungkin namanya. Pertanyaannya dalam bahasa Inggris, agak panjang. Intinya gini Pak Faisal, kebanyakan penggunaan data analitik itu kan pakai data yang terstruktur ya. Datanya terstruktur. Nah, pertanyaannya adalah, ada nggak use case di healthcare industry yang menggunakan data yang tidak terstruktur? Tadi data analitik menggunakan data yang tidak terstruktur seperti seperti image, suara, atau data-data lain yang tidak terstruktur.
Baik. Kalau Rate Variability karena sumbernya itu adalah dari rekam jantung. Kalau image saya kira tidak ya. Kalau misalnya image ya untuk tujuan yang sama mungkin iya. Tapi kalau untuk dianalisis untuk HRV saya kira enggak. Kalau suara juga saya belum pernah melihat ya. Tapi kalau dilihat dari sisi dimensinya antara suara dan ECG tadi kan juga sama ya, satu dimensi. Jadi mungkin analisisnya juga sama. Itu.
Okay, I think that's it. The all question for today. So I think we should end our talk today. So for everyone, thank you very much, especially for Dr. Saadat and Pak Faizal Mahananto for being keynote speaker today. So hopefully we can continue this collaboration in the very near future, especially in the real research collaboration. Oke, so thanks again, thank you very much. Buat Bapak Ibu, jangan lupa untuk mengisi daftar hadir ya untuk sertifikat. Oke, baik, karena sudah sangat sore, so saya akan mengakhiri sesi webinar kali ini. Saya sebagai moderator, mohon maaf sebesar-besarnya jika ada hal-hal yang kurang berkenan, dan ucapan terima kasih yang sebesar-besarnya buat teman-teman Bapak Ibu semuanya yang sudah bergabung pada webinar sore kali ini. Sampai bertemu di webinar selanjutnya Bapak Ibu. Saya akhiri, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Terima kasih semuanya.
Terima kasih Pak Faizal.
Terima kasih Pak. Terima kasih Pak.
See you, Prof. Saadat.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
See you again. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.